Colchester is often labeled as one of the cheaper towns in this area, and that's usually true. But it's not just because the mill rate is magically low. So in this video, we're going to talk about why Colchester's taxes are lower and when that assumption can break down. Let's go. My name is Jason Boyce. I'm a local real estate agent here in Central and Eastern Connecticut, and I have passions for fitness, real estate, and family life with my wife Jasmine and our dog Holly. On this channel, we're going to cover everything you need to know about upsizing or downsizing in the state of Connecticut. Thank you for tuning in. Now, why is Colchester always in the lower tax conversation? Well, there's a number of reasons, and the context matters. It is a larger town geographically, and because of that, there's also more residents, typically about 15,000 residents. So there's a bigger grand list. So that helps keep taxes lower. There's also a pretty good mix of residential, commercial, and industrial tax base, more so than some of the surrounding towns that are more rural and more residential. And there's more housing stock at varied price points. So you have price points generally ranging from the 300,000s up to the 8 to 900,000s. So, and that structure matters more than most people know on what the overall tax burden is to the residential people living in a town. So, quick property tax refresher. Your property taxes are made up of two main things. They're made up of the mill rate and the assessed value. So your mill rate times the assessed value equals whatever your taxes are. So it's not just mill rate alone, and know that assessed values vary wildly by town. They're supposedly based off the appraised value. I say appraised loosely because towns use that as a market value to then determine the assessed value at 70% of the appraised value. But it's not a true appraisal. They're not sending an appraiser out there to every property. They generally hire a revaluation company that goes out and they make estimates and generalities, and then they adjust those in order to meet a budget for tax purposes. So that being said, quick mill rate comparison of Colchester and the surrounding towns. You have Colchester's mill rate at 29.92 mils currently. Marlborough at 37.52 mils. Hebron at 34.5 mils. And Glastonbury at 31.93 mils. So based on this, a lot of people assume that Colchester's the cheapest, Marlborough's the most expensive, and then Hebron and Glastonbury are in between. But in reality, that is not true because we're not talking the other half of the equation, which is also assessed values. So when we add in assessed values, why does Colchester still win? Well, they have lower average home prices than Glastonbury. There's also a wider range of housing across different price points. And there are more modest assessments within the town than some of the surrounding towns. And the revaluation impacts are also less extreme. So because Colchester has a lower mill rate to begin with, and the assessed values tend to be less aggressive and lower, ta-da, you get lower taxes, which is what a lot of people love about Colchester. So when we factor in both mill rate and assessed values, this is how taxes tend to end up ranking in Colchester and the surrounding areas. You have Glastonbury is the most expensive, followed by Marlborough, followed by Hebron, and then Colchester is generally the least expensive tax-wise in this area. Now, couple caveats. When is Colchester not the cheaper option? So there are a few important areas where your taxes can jump up in Colchester. If you're buying new construction, your taxes are going to be higher. If it's a larger home with a lot of acreage, taxes are also going to be higher. If you're living right on a lake, those properties are typically valued and assessed at a higher value, so taxes can be higher. And there are certain neighborhoods, especially newer built neighborhoods, tend to have higher assessed values, and that does transfer to the tax burden. Now, people that also contact me about Colchester sometimes ask about some other towns such as East Hampton or Tolland. There are also towns that have some rural base with good school systems, so they sometimes get lumped in. I will briefly touch on them. East Hampton, one thing to consider, because they have Lake Poketipog, which is a huge lake with a lot of houses around it, the lake values can tend to skew based on other properties. So lake proximity greatly can change the assessed value. And then because of that, the taxes can vary dramatically within that town. Tolland does have a larger grand list, and it does tend to have more stable values. They don't skew as much from one part of town to the other, so they are more steady. So why does Colchester appeal to budget-conscious buyers in this area? Well, number of reasons. Number one, lower overall tax burden. Your taxes are going to be lower, and that's going to transfer to a lower monthly payment on your mortgage. So that's a big win. There's also more housing variety. You have selections at $300,000, and then you have selections at $900,000. So there is a good variety depending on where that fits within your budget. There's also more houses available. It's a larger town with a larger footprint, so there are just more houses to choose from. Typically, there are around, in the last couple years, around 30 or so houses listed for sale in Colchester at any given time. Contrast that to like Hebron or Marlborough, some of the surrounding towns, and when you can only have like 8 to 10 houses listed for sale at any given time. And Colchester does also have a good balance of cost versus space, depending on where you're looking. So it tends to work well for buyers who are watching monthly costs for all of those reasons. Now, a couple common mistakes that buyers make when looking in Colchester. One, the assumption that all Colchester homes are going to be low tax. Now, like we touched on earlier, newer builds or newer build neighborhoods, they, compared to surrounding towns, might be lower, but not on the whole. So if you're saying like, hey, I'm going to buy in Colchester, my taxes are going to be low, and then you go and buy a new build house, well, your taxes are going to be higher than some of the older houses in the area. The other common mistake is comparing only the mill rate, not looking at the assessed value, so not knowing what the overall tax burden is. And lastly, just not projecting taxes forward. If you are on a tight budget, know that taxes very rarely, if ever, go down. They are going to trend up over time, typically in the 2 to 3% range. So know that going forward. Now, quick wrap up. Colchester, it deserves its reputation as a lower tax town. Keep in mind, it's lower tax, but it's not cheap. Colchester offers a lot. They have good housing stock. They have a good school system. There's low crime. There's a lot of things people like about Colchester. Easy access to Route 2. So there are a lot of positives to Colchester. I will include a link below about pros and cons and some other details about the town if you want to dig in deeper. If you are comparing Colchester to some of the surrounding towns, Hebron, Marlborough, Glastonbury, East Hampton, Tolland, I'm happy to help you run numbers. Remember, when you're looking for a house, choosing the right town is step one, but then choosing the house is step two. My name is Jason Boyce. I'm a local real estate agent, and I specialize in helping buyers buy and sell in these areas. We're very familiar with the areas, and we do a lot of business here. So more than happy to help. We offer a free consultation to buyers and sellers looking to find out information about the area and how to be successful. Quick point, not all realtors are created equal. So that being said, if you're interested in a free consultation, feel free to reach out. All my contact info is below. Also, if you found this helpful, please smash that like button and share this with anyone who you would think would find this information helpful. Thanks for watching.